We're joined by Hall of Famer Neil Johnson, the Gustavus inductee here recently. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now back here at second stage of Korn Ferry Tour qualifying. Had to think of which sponsor we got this year.
Still tough to say that.
And a totally different Bear Creek than what we're used to here. Very firm, very fast. Greens at an all-time high in terms of speed.
Yep.
How did you deal with all that today?
Very hot too.
Yeah.
I think the last couple of years,
Yep.
the temps have been in the high 60s, 70s. With high 30s and 40s early in the morning, and then all week it's going to be mid 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hot. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, this is going to be a different course. Greens are about as fast as I've ever played, and they've just gotten faster. Sunday they were great. Members were talking about having to slow them down for our tournament. But then the superintendent, I guess, double cut and rolled them on Monday morning. So when I went out yesterday for my practice round, they were like a whole nother level. And they tried to pull it back a little bit today, but they still just kept speeding up, because they're so firm. They're great. I mean, it's just they are just slippery. Whether you got a 40-footer or a 4-footer, whether you're chipping, you got a bunker shot, or even if it's a full shot, you got to try and judge it right.
Yeah.
How much spin you got, how much you think the ball's going to bounce, because they're firm with being really fast. And that's the challenge that we're all facing today. All week really. It'll be that way.
Oh, I think it was out on 16. You had to use a River Falls wedge from off the green.
Yeah. So first off the shot there, the third shot. Yeah, I was just like, this is too tight of a lie.
Right.
With not much green to work with, and even if I catch it perfect, I shouldn't say it wasn't a bad lie, but even if I catch this perfect with the wedge, it's not going to check enough to not run 6-8 feet past the hole. I'm like, I got to putt this thing, and I hit a really good shot. I putted it really well up to 5 feet or something, but then that putt completely fooled me, and I made kind of a bad stroke. And, but that hole in general, hit a great tee shot. Had birdied the previous hole, and I was, I got 3 holes left. I'm like, let's make 1 or 2 more birdies, get it under par, get it whatever, And I had 129. Wind should have been out of the south. The forecast was for 10-mile-an-hour winds out of the south, and so I'm thinking, okay, wind's gonna be helping. Let's just hit a good gap wedge. I hit a good gap wedge. It lands on the front fringe and spins back short to where I'm, kind of short-sided on this tough spot. And I'm like, man, so I misjudged that, and that was kind of the story of the day, was misjudging the wind, because right now I would say it's kind of out of the southeast, but right when I finished, it was blowing out of the east. When we were playing early in the day, it was out of the northwest. So it was like all around, and it's like when you start with the firm and fast greens, and then you go back to your approach shot, and you're trying to get that accurate or that specific, that precise with your approach shots. You want to have trust that you got the wind right. And it was just, I misjudged it all just a little bit. Not all day, I should say, but I misjudged it enough today to walk off with 5 bogeys. 4 of those was from the middle of the fairway. So it's like, those hurt.
Yeah, and then on 18, you hit that last roll, you would have.
Yeah, and that one was like, I watched the guy right before me run it 6 feet by. He had an eagle putt from the front fringe, and I was just on the front edge, and his just took off like so many putts and chips have done. They just take off. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're uphill, but it's fast. And then mine just stopped that 1 roll short. But then also that approach, I'm 87 yards out, lob wedge in my hand. I'm like, this is perfect. Like, let's get this thing that, I'm gonna fly at 85, basically just gonna skip and then just grab like crazy. And the thing, it flew maybe 80, but it spins back then. And I'm just like, okay, so you misjudged that too. Like, I thought, it wasn't like I hit a high spinner. I thought it was kind of a low one. So just slightly off with too many of those shots today.
Sure.
Whether it's a tee shot or the irons or some of those 5-10 footers, just like just added up to the 74 instead of something a lot lower.
So to tie together the 2 sides of the country today, we've got 2 Wisconsin guys with their first try at a second stage of Korn Ferry Tour qualifying school. Can you remember your first time to a second stage?
Yeah.
How it differed from the first stage, and what makes this a unique challenge?
Yeah, my first time at second stage was 09. was it 08, 08, 09? I mean, those guys were in high school. But
High school? Middle
I'm sure
school,
they were.
maybe.
Yeah, you're right. Great, thanks. But it was still into the PGA Tour. It was still
Okay.
PGA. So if I'd gotten through second stage that week, I could have finished dead last, and I would have gotten 5 to 10. Web.com might have been nationwide. Probably nationwide then. Either way, yeah, I was in Texas, TPC Craig Ranch. They still host second stage. They had it last week, and it was just a mop fest. I mean, it was just a swamp almost. It was so wet out there. It looked like this, and that all the fairways were brown. All the Bermuda had started to go dormant, but it was so wet and muddy. And then it was cold. A couple of them were like freezing cold. But then we had one thunderstorm. But I was so out of my element, out of my comfort zone. It was a good learning experience. Played pretty sloppy the first day, but I remember thinking, I thought I played decent the second day with like a 72, I'm like, okay, I'll move back up. No, I lost a bunch of ground even with the 72.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, well, my game wasn't quite ready for it back then, especially under those conditions where it was so long. That golf course can play so long when it's soft like that. My balls were flying 275 and going 274. They were bouncing back a foot or whatever, sticking right there. And other guys were just bombing it out there. I'm like, okay, that's that hurt me. But yeah, that was a good learning experience way back when.
How has the mindset changed at a second stage now versus then, and what advice would you have for a first timer at this stage in terms of trying to keep an even keel, knowing how much is on the line?
Yeah, that's keeping the even keel, or keeping your mind in it the whole week is kind of the trick to it. My mindset has changed a lot every year. A couple years ago, I just felt like it was almost life or death to get through, and it is. I mean, because you're playing for your job, but it's just like, I'm so old now that it's like,
aren't you 35?
37.
37?
37.
All right. I stopped counting a couple years ago, apparently.
But compared to everyone else, I'm so old that it's just like, I want it as much as them,
Right.
There's no doubt about that, but it's just like, but it can't come down to expectations. It's got to come down to how well I can execute, and today it was just slightly off, just slightly off. And it's fine. I mean, my group, we were all slightly off. I mean, I wasn't the only one who was,
right.
Whatever, bewildered with the greens or the chips, because it felt like any time someone in our group was out of position, we walked off with bogey or worse. It just we weren't able to save a lot. So those guys, their first time, like, hopefully they, whatever they started with, wherever they are compared to the number, they can just, take a deep breath and realize they still got 3 more days left. A lot can happen, and that's what I'm looking for, is that a lot will change over these 3 days. A lot will get better. That I can't be any worse at judging the wind and the greens and the putts and the the bounce and firmness and all that. So it can only get more comfortable as the week goes on.
Sure. Well, good luck to you, and we'll see how everybody does going
Thanks.
forward.